Hello and welcome to Boomer Live. Today we are here to talk about a whirlwind of a game which was played between Sunrisers Hyderabad and Mumbai Indians. It was Sunrisers Hyderabad who was put on to bat. Sunrisers Hyderabad scored a brilliant 193, all thanks to some outstanding batting by Rahul Tripathi, who scored a brilliant 76 of 44 balls. And for his support, he had Priyam Garg, who was making his IPL first game of IPL today for him in this season, and he scored a brilliant 42 to support him, and also Nicholas Poon, who scored a brilliant 38. But in response, in Mumbai, Indians just fell short by 3 runs. And even there, it was Tim David who almost took Mumbai home while he was teeing off. Everybody thought it was Mumbai's game. But then that run out over there, then a 19th over maiden by Bhuvaneshwar Kumar, the OG, he was back again, producing that Yorkers. And it was a good finish of, Faruqi in the end. Sandipani, what did you make of that game? But let's talk about that batting performance from Sunrisers up front, because that was so crucial, isn't it? In this total, let's talk about Rahul Tripathi. You reckon so? He's one of the most versatile batters in the country because number one, he just reminds me so much of Surya Kumar Yadav as well. Both are in that time part of their age where they're 30, 31, but then they are able to play all around the ground. They're able to take on the pacers, able to take on the spinners with a lot of ease, and they're able to score at a very brisk rate as well. What do you make of the knock?
Yeah, I think it was a good feeling for it would be a good feeling for him coming back to form after 3-4 games, 3-4 string of low scores. I think Rahul Tripathi started the innings in a very positive fashion, taking on Bumrah. I think
Yeah.
those three boundaries of Bumrah's first over really set the tone for his innings. And I think once he sort of looked set and there was no looking back. We have seen Rahul Tripathi has been very aggressive this season. He has sort of adopted that approach that he will even though he was having some of the like some really low scores, but he knew that he will come back, and he was just at it, like the intent was there. Whenever he got the balls where he felt that he could score on his zone, and he was just hitting it out of the arc, and he was striking it beautifully actually. And I think just that over from Bumrah really set the tone for his innings, and I think Sunrisers Hyderabad will be very happy because initially Kane Williamson's did not look an opener for Sunrisers Hyderabad throughout the season. It's been a very like poor season from Williamson's perspective. He
Yeah.
was not at all. He did not get going in any of the games. Initially,
But
we
do you
probably
reckon
thought that
this move is a bit too late for them? Because we've been talking about it for way too long,
yeah.
right?
It's
Kane
definitely
Williamson
too
shouldn't be
late. I
opening
think
the batting.
Sunrisers Hyderabad are out of it.
Yeah.
Frankly speaking, with minus 0.23, even with a thumping win like 100-run victory, the most they can do is they can sort of reach that par, like par net
Zero.
run rate of 0.00 neutral net run rate. So I think it's safe to say that unless they win the next game by 170, 180 runs,
Yeah.
and something drastic happens in the other ends, it's safe to say that it's a 7-team tournament right now.
Right.
So
Absolutely. I mean, you're absolutely spot on in saying that because even Sunrisers might be believing at this very point that it was a bit too late to do these kind of changes, which is working out. Now, they were on a 5 game losing streak as well, so it is never easy to recover from those positions and come
I
back
felt
hard.
it was a bit like something off went in the batting lineup. If
Right.
had somebody like a Priyam Garg, they could have definitely tried him early on, or probably an Abdul Samad will not be a very bad option either to bring him up early and play the role of a pinch hitter. I don't know. They retained Abdul Samad, and now they have shown no confidence in him. 2 games dropped and not returned. So I don't know what it tells about their future, what they have in store for somebody like an Abdul Samad. But it was good to see Priyam Garg getting the game. And as I personally, I feel that Kane Williamson is fit for that middle order role. Probably Markram can come in at number 4 because Markram is in very good form. So bringing in somebody like Williamson at number 4 will sort of do them no good right now. But they just have 1 game left. I think they could have made these changes a few games earlier. Probably halfway through the tournament, if after 7-8 games, they could clearly see that Kane Williamson was not a fit at the opening slot. He was taking up too many balls, and it was getting really like the pressure was really getting on somebody like Aiden Markram, Nicholas Puran, Rahul Tripathi to come in and finish the job for them in every games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they could have adopted this method a bit too early, but it's late. It's okay. They can try these combinations out for the next season as well, because I don't
Right.
think that they are going to tamper with too many changes for the next season.
Right. We have an interesting question here from Miss Shruti Sriram. She asked, should IPL adopt head-to-head pattern instead of NRR if points are tied? I bet that you're an RCB fan or one of those SRH fans at this very point to bring this analogy, but nonetheless, that's a very good idea. What do you reckon about that? Because NRR can be very complicated, right? Because you might have that one thumping defeat which could possibly hamper your chances. So Sriram makes a very valid point here. I mean, I'm just
Yeah,
putting
I
from a
mean, but
neutral perspective.
there are drawbacks on head-to-head pattern as well. Like if you look at the head-to-head pattern, each team might play one team twice, and they might have one
No,
record against
so
each team.
so I would rather recommend something like, how about we have NRR only in a possibility where the one game goes the other way, one game goes this way. Then you can possibly look at NRR,
But
or
then
else if
what
it's
happens
one.
in case of a three-way tie? Suppose one team has beaten the second team, second has beaten third, and the third team has beaten the first team once. And in case there is a three-way tie, what do you do about the net run rate? Because uh,
Yeah, it's way too complicated at this very
yeah,
point. That's where I think net run rate. I think we should stick to it. But then
but I
NRR,
feel that they can sort of make a few changes on the net run rate. Net run rate basically is the total number of runs scored by overs. Like they're just calculating your run rate throughout the season.
right.
So
Can you
it
please
does not take.
explain to the viewers how net run rate is calculated? Because
Yeah,
you,
I
being
think.
a statistician student, you know more than anybody else. So please explain.
So it's basically if you are batting the number of runs that you have scored per overs, and then they subtract the numbers of runs that you have conceded per overs, and that is how they get the net run rate for each game. I feel there is a small loophole over there that they don't take into account the number of wickets lost. So if a team is winning by 10 wickets in hand with just 1 over to spare, and if you have a target of 110 and they are sort of going at it slowly, not losing any wickets in hand, I think the net run rate does not take into account the fact that you have not lost any wickets and you have sort of defeated the team convincingly. They'll just say that you have scored 111 runs in 19 overs. That's all. So I
Right.
think you can sort of do a bit of permutations, combinations. The statisticians, they can sort of come with a different model
Yeah.
to sort of improve the net run rate system a bit. But so far it's good. It's been sort of making the like being the demarcator in a lot of tournaments, not just IPL, in a lot of tournaments elsewhere
Mhm.
as well.
Right.
But I definitely feel Shruti has a good point over there, because head-to-head pattern can also be looked at. Because suppose you have just one bad game where you are where you lose thumping, like where you have a very poor defeat, where you lose convincingly, but you have given tough competition in all the other games. You win the games closely, and you have a better record. Suppose if there is a tie between Mumbai Indians and Kolkata Knight Riders, going by the head-to-head record, you would definitely feel that Mumbai Indians have the edge. But again, KKR, they have been losing, like bringing the games really close. Mumbai Indians have been losing some like games by a big margin, sort of 30,
Right.
40 runs.
Right.
So that's been the difference.
Right. I mean, that's a very good point as well. Thank you, Shruti, for that question, which sparked a small debate there. But let's look back at that game. Tim David, what a knock that was. That could have possibly one of the knocks of the tournament for Mumbai Indians, because that 26-run over from Natarajan, possibly everybody felt that was it, because you cannot pull off anything better than that at that stage. And he was looking very comfortable in the crease. And one of the important changes what I noticed in his batting was most of the batsmen in the death overs stand inside the crease way too deep, but he was standing outside the crease. So, which means Natarajan's block all balls
Yeah.
would be more converted into a full toss. And I thought that was an excellent strategy. Because if you're standing way deep in the crease, it's tough to get the elevation unless you want to scoop it, you want to really play it on those rams and all those shots behind the square. But then, if you're looking at the long on, long off, and possibly even mid wicket, for example, you have to stand outside the crease, and that's when Natarajan also fell for it. Natarajan was going to his block all balls, but then Tim David had a plan to counter it to stand outside the crease. So that was very important from Tim David. But what did you make of the run out at that stage? You reckon it was slight bit of brain fade from him? because the ball was right there near to the stumps, but he took a run, and that was the turning point in the match ultimately, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that turned out to be the turning point of the game. We always knew that there was somebody like a Ramandeep Singh and Sanjay Yadav still left in the shirt, but I think it was just a brain fade moment. He decided, he probably thought that he could make it, but there was no run over there. You may ask anybody, like anybody anywhere, but there was definitely not a single over there. The ball went straight to Natarajan, and he just fumbled a bit, and it was just near the wickets. So I
Right.
think other than that, the hitting was great. I have I feel really good whenever Tim David scores runs, because I always felt that he deserved a spot in the Mumbai Indians 11, no matter how you even if he failed one or two games, because he has that potential. He is a clean striker of the ball, and a very good take you had over there, that he just stood outside the crease just to negate that Yorker from Natarajan. We all know that Natarajan has sort of grown a reputation for himself for kneeling those Yorkers. So he was just converting those Yorkers into low full tosses, which are
Hmm.
even difficult to hit as well. But somebody like a Tim David, with the clean power striking that the ability that he has, he was just striking them cleanly, and I felt that there was no need for that single over there. So probably that was the turning point in the game. And again, another turning point in the game was Bhuvneshwar Kumar bowling to the longer dimensions of the game, getting sort of Sanjay Yadav to strike at the longer boundaries. It was brilliant. The execution in that penultimate over was brilliant from Bhuvneshwar Kumar. I mean,
Right.
definitely had the game over there.
Absolutely.
If
I
you're
mean,
bowling a maiden over in the 19th over,
let's
it
talk
was
about
something
Bhuvneshwar
Prasidh
Kumar,
Krishna
isn't
did.
it? Because that was one of the best overs of this year's IPL as well. I
Yeah,
saw Prasidh Krishna deliver one against Delhi
yeah,
Capitals, if I'm
against
not
Delhi
wrong, in the
Capitals.
same ground, where it was 36 left for the last over. But then this was just right up there, because 19 runs of 12 balls on 9 out of 10 occasions, you would back the chasing that. Regardless of the wickets they lost, it was just 7 wickets. But then the Yorkers, which he executed at the very point. Sanjay Yadav is no mug with the bat. He's a very potent striker of the ball. You've seen it in domestic circuit, you've seen it in TNPL as well, what he brings to the fore. But then that bowling changes from Bhuvneshwar Kumar. Let it be the slower ball, let it be the Yorkers which he bowled to Boomer. It was just top notch bowling from a world class customer, and that's what you make of Bhuvneshwar Kumar, right? This is
But
what
honestly speaking, I
Bhuvneshwar
would
Kumar
have
has been.
preferred somebody like a Riley Meredith coming in at number 9 instead of Jasprit Bumrah. Or
I
even
mean,
there was somebody
I'm
like a
not
Mayank
quite sure
Wankhede.
about Riley Meredith's batting credentials, but Jasprit Bumrah has been backed in the recent last 1.5 years. He's improved with the bat quite a bit, but then Bhuvneshwar Kumar, I thought even the world's best batsman would have struggled there. Maybe
Yeah,
unless you had
definitely.
a ram to get away with that. But that ball,
Definitely,
that couple
definitely.
of balls were those couple of balls were excellent. I mean, it was just top notch. And this is what Bhuvneshwar Kumar for over the years. And it just reminded me of Bhuvneshwar Kumar from 2016, 2017. Where he should run in and deliver these Yorkers, and batsmen would have no clue. And it just felt good that Bhuvneshwar Kumar was delivering Yorkers to the Yorker King of India, just with Bumrah. So it was just wonderful to watch that. But just before that, there's an interesting question we have. Okay, that's not a question. Thanks for that. So yeah, so let's talk about one of the batting innings of Rohit Sharma as well, right? Rohit Sharma is looking back in form again. How big a news is this for Indian cricket? Because right at the end of the tournament, that's when you want him to peak. And now that he's back in form, even Ishan Kishan, we've been criticizing him quite a lot, but then he has scored 370 runs this IPL. Would you consider that to be a failure, or still not up to the mark? I mean, where maybe you might feel it's an average kind of a season.
I think 400 runs in 14 games at an average. If you get to play all those 14 innings, it's something like 28, 29 with batting average 28, 29. I think that is sort of an average season. And somebody like an Ishan Kishan, a lot was expected of him. So I definitely think that he will consider, even if he has 30, 35 runs in the last game, gets to that 400 run mark. I think he'll still feel that he had a sort of a par average season, if not less. Because I feel that somebody of his caliber, and especially because Rohit Sharma was not in the best of forms. When
Right.
one of your openers is not in the best of forms, you need the other openers and the other batters to step up. Especially if you are carrying the burden of that price tag. We have all been
Right.
talking about Ishan Kishan's price tag. But I feel that he did his part. You can't expect too many things from a single player. To be fair to him, he had a brilliant start to the tournament, two very good knocks, followed by another sort of 50 in the third game as well. And then again, in the loss against KKR, he got some runs. Again today he got some runs. But
Yeah,
I think Rohit Sharma will be kicking himself the way he got out. The
yeah,
scoreboard pressure was building up. He would have backed himself to clear the boundary against somebody like a Washington Sundar on 9 of 10 days. Uh,
yeah.
it was just I feel for Rohit Sharma. I feel for somebody like Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli in this season. They have been not having the best of times, and these are champion players of the side, not
But
just the
I
side.
have a
These are
question
champion
over
players.
here. With Rohit Sharma, it's been a case for quite a long while. But this season specifically highlighted because the team hasn't been doing well. And more
Yeah.
often than not, we see Rohit Sharma getting under the cover because for Mumbai Indians, let's just put Team India aside. For Mumbai Indians, he's never had those breakthrough seasons where he has scored 500 runs or taking Mumbai Indians single-handedly into final. It's always been him scoring 220 runs, 250 runs with an average below 25 more often than not. You reckon that's been the case with Rohit Sharma overall, and this season he's been more so highlighted because of the team's poor performance.
No, I think see, there are players who sort of have favorites in tournament wise also because they have something in their mind. I think 400 runs in a season would be something Rohit Sharma would take gladly because we have seen in the last 2 3 seasons he has not been performing well. We have never seen Rohit Sharma like X an IPL season and sort of go on to get 500 600 runs for Mumbai Indians in a long time. Probably we haven't seen any. Even when Rohit Sharma is in very good form, we sort of see a 450 470 sort of a season from him in IPL. So we can like safely say that Rohit Sharma does not have a very good record in IPL.
Right.
If you consider him, if you sort of compare him to somebody like a Suresh Raina, Shikhar Dhawan, or Virat Kohli, these are the types of batsmen who sort of excel in IPL.
Hmm.
Shikhar Dhawan has a brilliant record in IPL. Somebody like a KL Rahul, but when you talk about Rohit Sharma, he has never been that X factor player for Mumbai Indians in IPL. He will get you two or three. He will win you 2 or 3 games every season. That's been the case for him, and he's a very good leader according to me. I think
Yeah.
that is why Mumbai Indians have been sticking to him. He knows how to marshal his troops very well. And if you talk about somebody like a Kane Williamson, also has gone under the radar. If you talk about the flag that Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma has received this season, somebody like a Kane Williamson had a worse season, but he did not receive the same amount of flag because somebody like a Rahul Tripathi, Eden Markram, Abhishek Sharma, Nicholas Puran, all the other batsmen were sort of coming in. The team
True.
was performing well. The
True.
bowlers were coming, clicking for them, and all in all, there was a good team effort. This time around, especially because Mumbai Indians have had a horrible season overall, they had a poor auction. According to me, they got some of their bowling choices wrong, and it took a lot of time for them to sort of settle on the 11 that they want to play.
Yeah.
Uh, and the some of the experienced players like Kyron Pollard and Jasprit Bumrah not coming to the fore has definitely
Right.
not helped them. I mean, Bumrah has had a good tournament according to like IPL standards, but according to his standards, I think he'll not be happy with his performance.
True. I
Even
mean,
though
I
he
mean,
has been coming in and nailing those Yorkers at the death, you need support from the other end. We have been saying this for a long time now that Mumbai Indians need some bowlers to come in. I think Riley Meredith and somebody like Daniel Sams has shown some promise.
right. I mean, as he has brought this question up overall, Slayer, let's pull the points table yet again. Let's bring that up. Let's open the Pandora box. Yeah, let's bring that debate again. What are the chances for Sunrisers Hyderabad, KKR, RCB to qualify? Because today's win hasn't really, shackled
Yeah,
the fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh team, but it definitely has helped Sunrisers Hyderabad to stay in the tournament.
yeah.
Do you reckon Sunrisers has a chance alongside possibly because they and RCB have the worst one net run rate, right? So it's going to be very tough for these two teams even to sniff if Delhi wins.
No, I don't think Sunrisers have any chance because even if Delhi loses, they are going to lose considerable amount of net run rate. But I think Delhi are on plus point two plus 0.25 and SRH are on minus 0.23. So 0.48 is a huge net run rate when you talk about 14, like in a single game if you have to cover. Even if Delhi loses and Sunrisers Hyderabad wins by a huge margin, I still feel that Sunrisers Hyderabad will not make it.
Right.
Especially because they have to first of all depend on RCB to lose, KKR to lose, and win their game by a huge margin, and for Delhi Capitals to lose their game by a huge margin. So a lot of things
Yes.
have to go in their favor. Similar is the
So
case for
I do have a
Punjab Kings, I
question
think.
for RCB. Can we address that also?
Yeah, yeah.
Whether
So
RCB can
RCB
qualify?
has a relatively easier sort of intuition. They just have to win their game and hope that Delhi Capitals loses. That's all that they have to hope. If they win their game, they are they just have to hope that Delhi loses and then they qualify. Otherwise, I think if RCB have to win their game, that is important. RCB
Yeah.
cannot lose their game and rely on other teams because they have a poor net run rate and they are clearly out of it. Even if another team goes to 4, even if somebody like a KKR wins, Delhi Capitals loses by a huge margin, RCB losing will not help them qualify. So it's a must win, do or die game for RCB. But if they win that game, it's going to be the other teams are sort of knocked out. Somebody like a KKR, Punjab Kings, Sunrisers Hyderabad will immediately get knocked out if RCB or Delhi Capitals wins their game.
Right, right, absolutely. And the first game is RCB versus Gujarat Titans in that pecking order. So if
No, I think
RCB
tomorrow.
wins,
Tomorrow we have KKR versus LSG.
yes, yes, you do have that. But just talking about the qualification scenario even more for teams
Yeah.
to get knocked out. If RCB wins, the rest of the teams get knocked out, and only Delhi Capitals stays in the hunt. And if Delhi Capitals win, including RCB, everybody else gets knocked out, and that'll be your top four right there. Which means you won't. It'll be a dead rubber, which we'll have to see on the last day. But it's going to be very interesting at this very point, right? Because you do not know what's going to happen if RCB and Delhi lose. What's going to really
And
take
KKR
place?
wins.
And
Then
if
we go
KKR
into the
wins
last day
tomorrow,
with a lot of hope.
yes, then that is going to be a hell of a match. Then Punjab taking on Sunrisers, the Punjab taking on Sunrisers is going to be a great match to watch.
Yeah.
And then, of
More so
course,
for Punjab Kings, I feel, because Sunrisers Hyderabad are well and truly out of it. We can
right,
just
right.
call it right now because
You think Punjab also
point.
has a chance to qualify from here on, even if RCB and Delhi lose the next couple of matches? You reckon
See, it
Punjab
is
Kings will
very,
still
it is
feel?
going to be very difficult because again, point two, you might say that it's just point 0.2 or 0.25 the difference in the net run rate, but you have to realize that we have already taken the average of 13 games. So the 14th game to factor in, you have to win by a huge margin to affect that net run rate. So a point 0.1 fluctuation in that net run rate is also very difficult. You have to win your game by close to 70-80 runs to sort of get the difference of point 0.1, get a fluctuation of point 0.1 in your net run rate. Uh,
Hmm.
Considering that this is a high scoring game.
Right. Very interesting question there. Let's keep biases aside. Let's keep biases aside. Let's be very pragmatic with the predictions what we make right here, because it's going to be looking at this table at this very point on this screen. Who do you reckon will end up on top four at the end of this week? I'll call mine. I will say Gujarat Titans number one. I have an interesting choice. I'll put Delhi Capitals number two, LSG number three, and RR number four. And being an RCB fan, I reckon it's very, very hard for RCB at this very point, because they're going to be up against a Mumbai Indians who might make a lot more changes as well. But Delhi Capitals are just picking at the right time, and they might just be there to play that number one game. You reckon Delhi Capitals can finish number two? Yeah, Delhi Capitals certainly can finish number two on the table. With all, because it's just point.
Because they will
It's
finish
very
at
less. It's
number two if
point.
Rajasthan Royals loses and Lucknow Super Giants loses. There is not much difference in the net run rate.
Yeah, it's point 0.5. And if the Rajasthan and LSD lose, if LSD lose tomorrow, it's going to be a massive hit. And if RR lose to CSK, then I reckon Delhi Capitals will be number two in the table at the end of the week. And that's going to be a huge, huge turnaround for them. They're going to be peaking at the
Yeah.
right time. Then you do not know. Then playoffs, it's all on that particular day. I believe the top two teams, of course, has an advantage. And Gujarat playing Delhi in Kolkata, it's going to be very interesting, because I reckon I'll still fancy Delhi Capitals even there, because David Warner, Mitchell Marsh has been their player, because he's just speaking at the right time. And also alongside them, Onvik Nokia, if he also gets back in rhythm, they're all waiting for Rishabh Pant's one knock. If Rishabh Pant comes good, Rishabh Pant has an excellent record against Mumbai Indians. Though he has a very bad record against Jasprit Bumrah, but he has a good record against Mumbai Indians in crunch games. In clutch situations like this, I expect Rishabh Pant to step up. Maybe that's me talking practically. Tell me about you. Do you reckon Delhi
Yeah,
Capitals
I
can
feel
finish number two?
if you ask me, I'll go with the different sort of top four. I feel Gujarat Titans are definitely number one. I will stick to Rajasthan Royals on number two. I think Lucknow Super Giants will keep their number three slot, and I feel RCB will come in with a win and sort of go over Delhi Capitals, and Delhi Capitals are going to lose against Mumbai Indians because we know how
Really?
much Mumbai Indians will come. Like Mumbai Indians are going to come really hard at Delhi Capitals. They have nothing to lose. They are not going to try out too many different youngsters in the last one because they know that it is they can play the spoil sport for Delhi Capitals.
I mean,
So
that's going to be
I
their
feel
motivation, right?
yeah,
Because I remember in 2018, just putting the the banner out. In 2018, when these two teams met in a clutch game like this, where Mumbai Indians had to win to topple and get it on to the top four, Delhi Capitals spoiled their party, and that was disappointing for Mumbai Indians fans because that was really hurtful. And this time around, they have an opportunity in their home. Last time around, it happened in Firozshah Kotla in front of Delhi fans. This time, they're going to be playing in Wankhede, the last match in front of their home crowd to topple Delhi Capitals and possibly spoil their party. Because Delhi Capitals, yesterday's game was the first time in this tournament they won two games in a row. So to win
yeah.
three games in a row, the pressure is going to be on them on that last day. But then I just feel like they're speaking in the right moment. You never know with IPL, with
And
Tim
honestly,
David
I feel
firing like this.
yesterday's game, Delhi Capitals did not have a very convincing win. I mean, their bowling unit did an excellent job, but I still feel that their batting, David Warner had a horrible game. You expect David Warner to come good. Mitchell Marsh has been the only positive in the middle order. Somebody like a Robman Powell came really good for them in between in 3-4 games, but then again he has failed in the last two. And
Yeah.
Rishabh Pant has not had that opportunity. I think he has not been the best captain in this season. I feel a few questions will be raised on Rishabh Pant's captaincy,
Yeah,
and
if
so
they
yeah,
lose
it will
against
be very
Mumbai
interesting
Indians
to
for
see.
sure. It's going to be very
Yeah,
interesting. Looking at the table, it can go anywhere at this very point. Anybody can grab it from that top seven, especially just barring SRH, because SRH, I feel, has a long stretch and it's going to be very tough for them to cover that. But other than that, I just feel, anybody on this particular day can go into the top. For RCB and Delhi Capitals have the better chance. And Kolkata Knight Riders tomorrow will be having a massive, massive, massive game against Lucknow Super Giants. Because if Kolkata Knight Riders win tomorrow with a very good net run rate, I believe they're going to go to the top four tomorrow, and that's going to be very interesting to watch from there on. What is going to happen? Sandipani, coming to you. Let's talk about the fantasy side of things because we've been talking about the qualification scenario, and it's like the multiverse of madness, isn't it? Everything is so confusing at this very point. You do not know what is happening. You do not know what might happen. You might need a time machine to just go to the future and see what's going to happen. Otherwise, you won't have peace of mind until the last day of the tournament. Sanjay, how did the fantasy side of things go? Because that's something which we can control and make a proper 11 and absolutely succeed.
yeah. I think I had a good day. Again, I had a good day because I had almost all the players that potentially finished in top five. I had somebody like a Umran Malik. I had Rohit Sharma. I had Nicholas Puran. I had the only two players that I did not have was Ramandeep Singh. I mean, I took a gamble on Sanjay Yadav. Turned out that Ramandeep Singh performed really well for Mumbai. And another player that I did not have was Priyam Garg. I mean, it's very good to see the youngster coming to fore, but I did not expect him to open the innings. I thought he'll come somewhere in number six, number seven, where the role what Sashank was playing for the side. So I thought he will not get ample opportunities, but he had a good
Yeah.
game. He had a good game on the field as well. Picked up some
Yes.
brilliant catches.
Yeah. So yeah, that was a turning point. Before we end the show, we'll just take that question on how should Kohli play against the Gujarat Titans. He should just go out there and enjoy the game at this very point. Nothing else. Just Virat. Just tell
I
to
think we are not
himself that
qualified
he is
enough
Virat
to
Kohli.
answer that. I don't think anybody in India can go and say that Kohli should play this way, that
I
way.
think he should just look into the mirror and say, "I'm Virat Kohli,"
Yeah,
and possibly then he might have that rejig of things as to what he was and what he can possibly be. Because at sometimes you just have to remind yourself what you are actually, and what the kind of player you are, what is the kind of stature you carry. Sometimes you feel the stature is overburdening, but I also feel if you remind yourself, I am this player, I've seen this all, I've dominated bowling attacks, I've I've been the best player in the world. I'm the best of this generation, possibly. For me, possibly pressure shouldn't affect me. You can go out there and play, and maybe people might just say the opposite. Just go out there, don't think like you are Virat Kohli. But then I just feel that Virat Kohli should just remind himself that he's Virat Kohli, because I felt whenever Virat Kohli has done well for its franchise, or let it be for Indian team, it's been with that ego. It's been that with that ego to perform well. It's been with that heart to go out there with that fire in him, saying that he's Virat Kohli. You've seen those celebrations where he points out his name. No, that's why he carries himself in that way, and that's what he should remind himself, saying that I am
The
Virat Kohli. I'll
aggression
go
can
out there,
rub
take the
off
balls.
on some people in the positive way as well. And for somebody like Virat Kohli, aggression and that attitude has really worked for him in the past. So I definitely feel he has nothing to slow down. He can express himself the way he wants. He has reached a certain stage in his career where he can sort of express himself with the bat as well, in any way he
I
wants
don't
to.
think he has to prove anything to anybody. He has got
Exactly.
70 international centuries. I mean, you are going through a lump of form, and that's something which you can understand. In this kind of slump of form, you might understand the better version of yourself, and you might even only come out of this even as a better player. You're seeing the glimpses already. Even in the last innings, you saw him timing the ball with perfection. You don't expect an insider is going to the pad and going to the short find. Like, he himself looked up to the skies and asked what is actually happening to himself.
I
But then
mean, we
that's
can
what
ask
happened.
Kohli to join Pujara and play the county for a bit. I think he'll get back his form over there.
Yeah, possibly. And do guys do remember we're releasing an exciting podcast on whether Pujara should be batting number 3 for India in Test cricket. So stay tuned for that, because the podcast will be out very soon. And also subscribe to our channel right now, because you can get notified whenever we go live. And also play our fantasy contest with Boomer 11. The link is in the bio, and it's totally free to play. Remember that it's totally free to play. So you're gonna have zero losses. So absolutely go out there, have a ball of a time playing fantasy sports with Boomer 11 and winning big. You can win prizes worth up to $5,000. And also follow us on Twitter, because that's where I'll be doing the preview of every game with Jones and Sandipani out there. And also I'll be there. So don't miss out on any of the action what we provide from our social media ends as well. And also follow us on Instagram, because we'll be providing the top 5 fantasy picks. And if you're a meme lover with sports, you're absolutely gonna love it, because we provide some really funny memes. So do follow us for that as well. Having said that, thank you. Have a good time. Thank you, Sandipani. I hope tomorrow also have a good night, because it's a Night Riders game
Hopefully.
tomorrow.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
and bye bye.
Bye bye. Have a good night.